Good morning. I wanted to capture something that it's kind of, despite the fact I seem upset, I'm actually not. I'm happy. um, I did some blood work this week because I finally felt like after 12 months I had cracked the code of, my HRT experience. It's been an interesting year. And I've spoken about some of that journey with people, and I've been working on the new book talking about it. But it's been a long journey, even though after a few months I started to feel better. And there were points where I'm like, oh, I'm back. Then I had adjustments after 6 months that sort of set me back a few months, and then it's just been a bit of a journey trying to work out exactly what's right. And I think this is the bit that I want you to understand. When you embark on a HRT journey, you're doing it because you're trying to reset what's been imbalanced in your life. And for me, it was a couple of years after. And so, it's been a year now, and it's taken this long to get it right. But actually, I'm really excited because I've proved it. I knew that my body, even, a month ago, I was still feeling a little bit off, not quite where I knew I should have been, and not where I had felt I had been like in July last year. And, I've been doing all of this research and trying to make these adjustments. And, so in what I've learned over the last year, now I have these implants. I knew I needed to top them up because something wasn't quite right. And because of all of the work I've been doing in this space, I had my own system to work out what that was. And then I made those adjustments myself. The doctor probably needs to be informed what I did, but I'm really happy about the fact that I've learned to feel myself what's going on and know that what I'm experiencing is right. And when I made those adjustments, I then went this week to get the blood test, and I did a psychological assessment at the same time to prove what I was doing wasn't just a placebo, wasn't just me making it up as I went along. What I've done in 12 months is helped to really understand how you restore postmenopausal HPA axis, and then what that does to improve a person's psychological makeup and how they present in the world. And it's not just hormonal balance, it's metabolic changes and, inflammatory changes that improve, pain and these sorts of things. And, this morning I'm crying because I cracked the code. And, this week it's been a challenging one because, Cambridge produced a study in the UK talking about HRT, well, menopause and mental health specifically. And their methodology was flawed. Their point that they made, they asked, they used a data set that wasn't specifically set up for this question anyway. And then basically they just looked at, had the person ever used HRT, yes or no? And then they made the link to their mental health state, and then told people that, based on the data analysis that they'd done, HRT didn't work. And in fact, it might be worse for mental health. And it's just not true. And it's so not true that it made me really mad. I sent off a couple of press releases this week to UK media to try and talk about the fact that, this process was methodologically flawed and potentially would set back HRT, progression years if people didn't kind of rein it in. And what I've done is actually proven that our psychological makeup is extremely dependent on our neuroendocrine system, and that you can rebalance it. And when you rebalance it, you bring the person back to full functioning, or as close as they're possibly going to get to it at this point in their life. So I'm now going to finish the new book because, I've also been helping women I've been running the pilot program of the Me Project. you know, that's been just over this last month. And the feedback I'm getting is consistent. It's like, Kerry, nobody ever talks about this. Nobody ever explains it to us. You know, you go and you get your blood tests, and sorry, but nobody tells you. Nobody explains to you what's actually going on, and that what's going on in your brain is normal because of where you're at. And you feel like you lost your life. And then when it comes back, and despite the way that this looks, I am actually really excited. And I'm positive about it. I think that there's a lot of stuff here. And there's a lot of stuff that nobody talks about and nobody explains to you. And women are left to run this stuff blind. And even now, you know, what I'm doing is synthesizing psychological information with blood work to help people understand what their blood work's telling them about their mental health. And then I've got people going, but you're not an endocrinologist. How can you tell people that stuff? Nobody else is telling them. I've developed a system that allows us to do it. You know, I'm not going to apologize for helping people. It's really interesting in helping myself. And this is one of the things I've always done. I say to people, I've done this my whole life in all of my areas of work. I have these challenges, and then because I am a natural problem solver, I say to people I'm a professional problem solver, I look for the answers and then I work it out. And in this case, I then use myself as the guinea pig, you know, because my life was so strongly negatively affected by my hormonal stuff. I mean, yeah, okay, I had lots of other health issues, but far out, my ability to cope with everything else is very dependent upon my mental state. And, you know, despite the way that it looks, I'm actually good. I'm really good. And I'm actually excited about what's going to happen next. So, forgive my tears. They're happy tears. Because I just knew this week I needed to do the blood test to prove that what I was feeling wasn't just in my head. And then I did a very separate questionnaire at the exact same time I took the blood. So I took the blood work Monday morning. I came back and I gave myself a psychological assessment. You know, people will say it's flawed. It's not. I didn't know exactly what the bloods were going to tell me, but I did record exactly how I was feeling and how that had changed over the last couple of weeks and what I'd done to make that change. And it worked. And for that, and that reason alone, I'm really excited because I feel like it's taken 12 months and this is not an easy journey. It took me about 4 months to start to feel better. And then it's been another, 8 months of adjustment. But I feel like I'm finally at the point where things are working well in my own body, that I can feel what's going on in my own body and I know what works and what doesn't. And I trust myself to make the decision about what's right for me. And that is really powerful. So watch the space, because it's actually going to get really cool from here.